Hi, my name is Shalisa Salters, and I'm doing a presentation on the minimum wage. Inside this presentation, through this article, I'm going to be discussing whether I agree or disagree with her pro and cons points. And the article was called Pros and Cons in Raising the Minimum Wage, written by Allison. And so with her cons and pros, all in all, I agree with what she was talking about. But I'm just going to be discussing a few of them and why I agree with them. Some of the cons that I agree with is that if we raise the minimum wage, then it could result in job cuts. So what I decided to do was I decided to do a supply and demand graph chart just to show and to give an example of what would happen. So right here, we see that if the wages are $7.25 an hour, we have we can have about 80 workers. But see right here, if you increase it to $15, then we will only have a quantity of 10 workers. So if you subtract 80 from 10, that means that 70 people will be losing their jobs. Another thing that we have to understand is that if we're raising the minimum wage, not only will it cut workers, but also they will be trying to figure out whether or not to put machines in there or whether or not their companies will want to go overseas. So another con that I agree with is that if we raise the minimum wage, then prices will rise to offset the higher cost profits. Now, a lot of these minimum wage workers, they usually work with firms and companies that doesn't really have a big profit margin. So because they don't have a big profit margin, the only way they can make a profit would be to upset the prices. But we have to understand who exactly is going to be paying for these high prices. Well, generally speaking, a lot of the minimum wage workers that when they produce goods and products, a lot of these people that are buying these goods and products are not the high class people, but it's actually the low and middle class. So all in all, if you raise the minimum wage, you're actually being counterproductive. You're going backwards instead of going forward, because the people that you are really trying to help will actually be paying for these higher prices. So that's another thing that's not good. Also, not only will it affect the consumers, the low and the middle class, but it will also affect people that aren't getting that high minimum wage. Wages for higher paid workers might be suppressed. They may not give them as much money. People on salary may not get as much of a raise as they would. So these are my cons that I agree with. Now, here are some pros that I agree with too. It will bring families to a living wage. $7.25. They raised it from 25 cents to $7.25 in 2009 as being the wage floor. And that $7.25 value is not the same as it was years ago in 2009. So therefore, with the prices rising up and still the minimum wage at a low, people are living basically below the poverty line. That's not a living wage for people to live through. Yeah, they don't have the skills like doctors or surgeons or teachers, but that still doesn't mean that they shouldn't be paid some money. And $7.25 is definitely too low, in my opinion. Another thing that we have to understand is that if you raise the minimum wage, it will actually help the government. It will help the government by, if you raise the minimum wage, the taxes, the Social Security coming out of their checks. Also, a lot of these minimum wage workers are actually getting fundings from the government. So if they get paid higher, then they are most likely not to need help from the government. Therefore, the government is also saving money. According to epi.org, if you would raise the minimum wage $12 in 2020, it would actually save $17 billion. Crazy, right? Another thing is there will be an increase in purchasing power. If people feel like they are richer, they are more apt to spend money. And there will be a more flow of money coming, meaning businesses will increase. So the question is for me, should the minimum wage be raised? Well, just like in that article, I'm the type of people that's kind of sort of, in the middle. Yes, I believe minimum wage should be increased because $7.25 is too low. However, I do not believe that it should be waged up to $15. I mean, that's just too much. Maybe we should find some type of equilibrium. We have other states, according to Journal Resources, according to Journal Resources and Forbes, we have other types of states that actually tried to raise the minimum wage. That's actually, the minimum wage is like $8, $9, and $10. And they are doing pretty good. So why not just make it a base level of $8 and $9? Let's just try to raise it moderately and not substantially. And so all in all, this is my presentation on minimum wage.